Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, theFellowKGB. You can follow me on Twitter at theFellowKGB. Last night I covered the Thursday night football game, which we got airing in about an hour and a half. It's about almost 6 o'clock on a Thursday night here. And today I'm going to be doing this in a little bit of a segment thing. I'm going to be doing all the early games for Sunday. So I think we got 9 games. If you're new to the Fantasy Fellow Show, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. This is where I do my start-sit charts, and this is where you can come in and look and see where I rank these guys and how I feel comfortable starting them. But for now, we're going to start. So we already covered the Thursday night football game. I'm excited to watch Joe Burrow. But we're going to start with the Sunday early games. We're going to start with Atlanta Falcons at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are favored by about 6 points. So we'll start with the away team. Matt Ryan's going to be your quarterback one. He threw for 450 yards last week. A lot of volume, 52 passing attempts too. I don't know if we can trust that. But we're not too really worried about the Cowboys defense. We just saw Leighton Vander Esch be put on IR. He might be back at some point this year. And then I think Sean Lee also missed some. He's probably missing 6 weeks. So the Cowboys defense is coming up banged. They're banged up in this one. So you're starting Matt Ryan, you're starting Julio Jones, you're starting Calvin Ridley. Congrats on Calvin Ridley if you were able to snag him in the 3rd or the 4th round of your draft. And then you got Todd Gurley, who I feel pretty confident as an RB2. He didn't get a lot of snaps. If you go to the fantasyfellowship.com, I kind of break down the numbers and the snap counts and what I just have a little bit more depth there. But I like Todd Gurley as an RB2. He's going to be able to get, the red zone looks if he's there. He got a few targets. He's going to get maybe 15 to 20 touches in this one. So I like Todd Gurley. I'm not scared of the Cowboys D. Russell Gage, he was a popular waiver wire ad this week. And because Matt Ryan threw the ball 52 times, I think that's what made Russell Gage's numbers look like outstanding. I think he had 9 catches over 110 yards or something like that. So I don't think you can expect like another 20-point, PPR day for Russell Gage, but he can be a wide receiver 3, a flex. He can be, a 10 to 12-point floor guy if he's catching 5 or 6 balls a week. So I like Russell Gage the most, between, I like all of these guys, but Russell Gage is an interesting flex option. And then you have Hayden Hurst here. What do we do with Hayden Hurst? I just want to look at my stats real quick. Hayden Hurst, where was he? So he logged 62 of 79 snaps, which is pretty good. That's a pretty high percentage, but he only had 3 catches. He had 5 targets, 38 yards. So kind of a dud if you're expecting Hayden Hurst. Yo, what up, Jacob Phillips? How you doing, big dog? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. We're just talking about Hayden Hurst here. I really don't know how I feel about Hayden Hurst. It was kind of frustrating to see Russell Gage, get all those targets that we're, so accustomed to Austin Hooper getting. So I think I have a question mark here for Hayden Hurst as my tight end one. I'm a little nervous about it. If you have a guy like Dallas Goedert or Jonnu Smith or someone, I might, start those guys ahead of him here. But again, the Cowboys defense doesn't scare us. We can score points on them. So if you have to, I'm okay with starting Hayden Hurst, but I might look, elsewhere if I have a solid bench piece. We're not starting the Atlanta Falcons defense, and then we're going to continue to monitor Brian Hill, Smith, just in case anything happens to Todd Gurley. We just want to see if either of those guys are looking good or sticking out, more than the other. So I like the Atlanta game. I think this Atlanta Falcons Dallas Cowboy game is going to be the one noon game that I make sure I tune into and actually just sit and watch it while I have another game on. But there's going to be a lot of points, a lot of deep passes, a lot of good running backs play from Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley. So we'll go with the Cowboys side here. You're starting Ezekiel Elliott. You're starting Dak Prescott. You're starting Amari Cooper. Michael Gallup can slide into your wide receiver 3 spot. And with Blake Jarwin out of the picture now, who's kicking for Cincinnati tonight? That's a good question. Let's look into that real quick. Who's kicking for the Cincinnati? We got a comment here from Charity Pros Joe's. Let's just take a look quick at I want to go to the Cincinnati Bengals depth chart. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Randy Bullock, he practiced all week this week, but they did add Austin Seibert. I really don't know if there's any news on that yet. Let's just type in Austin Seibert here. Nothing really sticking out yet. It looks like Austin Seibert isn't active for tonight, so that means Randy Bullock is going to be the kicker tonight. So I feel like that's pretty confident. Yeah, it looks like, yeah. So Austin Seibert's inactive. I hope that helps you out. But back to the Dallas Cowboys, we're really comfortable with starting, these 4 top guys here. I like Michael Gallup as a wide receiver 3. He had that really nice play that was kind of called back to the pass interference call against Jalen Ramsey. That was unfortunate. So he could have had a bigger day. But I was talking about Blake Jarwin being gone, and now there's a few more targets freed up, which is now pushing CeeDee Lamb into my wide receiver 3 flex territory. Like in one of my leagues, I think I have AJ Brown. I'm going to be just plugging in CeeDee Lamb there. So I'm not too worried about it. He's a safe 10 to 12 point floor, and we'll see if he can get his first career touchdown against Atlanta. So I'm excited about CeeDee Lamb. We're not starting either of these defenses. I think this game, based on a Vegas line, I think it had the highest implied point total. So go ahead and just bank on the offense. We'll watch Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz, and see what happens. But make sure you tune into this one. This one's going to be fun for the noon game slate. And then we got the Bills at the Dolphins. I think we'll be pretty quick about this one. We'll start on the Dolphins side because, as you see here, it's just completely blank. Like, you're not really comfortably starting a Miami Dolphin this week. And I know here, let's look at the practice reports for Miami. I know Devontae Parker was injured. He's questionable with a hamstring right now. He logged 2 limited practices, so that's better than a do not practice. And then you see Preston Williams down here with full practices. So the thing is, whatever the starting receiver is going to be going up against, what's the Bills' best receiver or his best cornerback? I can't remember his name, but he's pretty damn good. And so Devontae Parker, if he draws him, then I kind of like Preston Williams. But I really don't feel comfortable starting either Miami Dolphins receiver, and I totally get it if you don't want to touch anybody. Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, Ryan Fitzpatrick, even Mike Gesicki. I think I'm just leaving these guys on the bench, and I'm not going to really trust anything until I see something first. So I like the talent of Parker and Williams, but we're going to just kind of – they're risky flex options this week. And the Bills got a pretty good defense too, so I don't really want to mess with that. But for Josh Allen, if you look at my write-up for Josh Allen, I have some stats here. And then basically he's got 4 career games against the Dolphins. He's finished as QB1, QB1, QB2, and QB7, in these starts against the Dolphins. He's thrown for 913 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 3 picks. And then he's rushed in 3 games. He's rushed for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Josh Allen, I know the Dolphins added some decent players at the secondary, getting Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, restructured. So they got a little bit better on defense, but I still think Josh Allen, he's a top 5 quarterback this week. You're starting Stephon Diggs. I have a question mark next to John Brown because I did see him miss practice the other day. It looked like Wednesday he did not practice, but today he logged a full practice, so I will likely remove that question mark and go ahead and feel confident about starting John Brown as your wide receiver 3. And then we got Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. What do we do with these running backs? I think the Bills are going to be able to control the game. I did have a kind of in-depth breakdown here that you can read about, running back snaps and touches. But both guys, if we're expecting the Dolphins, to be behind and the Bills to control the clock, they're going to just keep running the ball and doing some Josh Allen, big stuff. I think Singletary can be your RB2. And then Zach Moss is like a poor man's RB2, where I think they're going to like him more and more as the season progresses. And he can be a low-end RB2 flex. So I think that's pretty safe to say. Cole Beasley is no more than like a low-end PPR, flex, 10-point play or something like that. And then you're starting the Buffalo Bills defense. We'll monitor Dawson Knox, but everything's showing up Bills here. What's kind of cool is the way I set up these charts is you can kind of tell like which side of the game it's going to be going to, and it's definitely Buffalo here. I have no starters on the Dolphins side, so start your Bills. Up next, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are an 8-point favorite at the moment. That might have changed. I have to look because we got news that Chris Godwin is not going to be playing. So Chris Godwin, he came away from Sunday. He had a pretty big hit. I think it was in the 3rd or 4th quarter, but he continued playing. He didn't start having concussion symptoms until it was Wednesday morning. So that's kind of a delayed, time for concussion symptoms. So it looks like he might be out this week and maybe even next week. So we'll kind of see what happens. So we're going to start with Tampa Bay side here. Plan for Chris Godwin to be out. If you want to, you can go add Scott Miller. Scotty Miller did some really nice things last week. I think he caught 5 balls for 76 yards. He plays a lot of the outside spot that, he's kind of like the John Brown of Bruce Arians' offense here. So I'm into Scotty Miller. You're going to start Tom Brady. Brady's best as your quarterback 2 in Superflex. He could be a fringe quarterback 1 play. I think this is the week to start Ronald Jones, guys. I think he outplayed Leonard Fournette last week. Fournette had 5 carries, 5 yards. But Ronald Jones came in there and he ran, for 66 yards, 17 carries. He had 2 catches on 3 targets, or 2 catches, 3 targets, and 16 yards. So he, accounted for 82 all-purpose yards against a pretty good Saints defense. And we know the Carolina Panthers defense is just not good. We think Tampa Bay's offense is going to take another step forward with efficiency this week. So I'm kind of all in on Ronald Jones this weekend. I think he's gonna look more explosive than Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, I think people are kind of slightly overrating how good he is. But I'm all in on Ronald Jones. So get him in as your RB2, flex him if you have to. Mike Evans is going to be a smash play this weekend with no Chris Godwin. It looks like he's been practicing and been healthy. Let's see here, his practice logs. So limited, but it's good to see that he's not missing time. So I'm fully expecting Mike Evans to play. I have O.J. Howard here. I should probably put a question mark next to that, but I kind of think O.J. Howard can be a tight end one streamer if you have George Kittle or something, and you just got to put some guy in. O.J. Howard, he had a really good camp and he caught a touchdown and he's on the field quite a bit. So I'm not starting Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, and Chris Godwin, of course. And then I kind of like this defense, but I don't know if I trust it quite yet. But they're better than what the game was last week. The Bucs offense kind of put them in some bad spots. But I really like Tampa Bay's running game with Ronald Jones, and we'll see how much Leonard Fournette gets. But there's still a lot of good weapons here in the passing game for Tom Brady to work with. On the Panthers side of the ball, if we're expecting Tampa Bay to do what they want on offense, we should see a lot of opportunities for the Panthers to try to keep up and maybe win this game. So Teddy Bridgewater is a quarterback 2. Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. DJ Moore, he had a little bit of a dud week 1, I guess you could say, but in PPR leagues, like 9.4 points is fine. So we'll see if they get him more involved. He was still the leading target guy on the team with 9. 4 catches, a little bit disappointing. So I'm still confident on going back to the well with DJ Moore. Then you got Robbie Anderson, who blew up for that 75-yard touchdown catch. And I think Robbie Anderson is going to be a boom bust wide receiver 3 flex going forward, but I'm pretty comfortable with Robbie Anderson in my lineup because all it takes is one play, and it looked like they found a couple other different ways to get him involved, where maybe he's got like an 8 to 10 point floor. And then Curtis Samuel also, it's kind of the same thing. They found a lot of ways to get more Anderson and Samuel involved. Christian McCaffrey was only targeted 4 times, so they're focusing a little bit more on the receivers here, it looks like. So Curtis Samuel, I think he had 9 point something in PPR leagues. He's a low-end flex play at best. We're never starting the Carolina Panthers defense, and we're going to monitor Ian Thomas. So again, though, I think I'm heavy on the Bucs side here. 8-point favorites. Get your Bucs in there. Get Ronald Jones in there. And let's hope for DJ Moore to get back on track and be a wide receiver 1 for us. So up next is the Denver Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, you can kind of tell how I'm thinking just by looking at the weight of these tables. I don't have anything here for Denver. And Pittsburgh's got some starters kind of throughout. So for Denver, I mean, they're going up against the Steelers defense, which just held Saquon Barkley to 6 yards on 15 carries. I don't think people are going to be running on the Steelers very much this year. So I just have Melvin Gordon as a low-end flex. He could be an RB2 if you need to. Maybe he's going to get a touchdown or something. But Philip Lindsay, he's got a little bit of a turf toe. He's probably not playing, which makes Royce Freeman interesting just to watch and see how he looks as the backup. But the passing game here, we saw Daniel Jones kind of have some success in the passing game against the Steelers defense. So I think a guy like Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and let's see if Cortland Sutton logged a full practice today. I'm assuming he was limited again. So two limited practices for Cortland Sutton. It looks like he's on track to play. So if you're waiting Cortland Sutton news, I will probably move him up into I'll probably move him to the wide receiver 3. I'm going to put Jerry Jeudy at the flex. But let's face it, they're probably not going to have a lot of success running the football. It's going to be all about how Locke can get the ball to Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and Cortland Sutton. So I'm a little bit nervous about the Broncos' young offense going against a really, really good defense here. So just kind of limit your expectations, I guess I would say. But Jerry Jeudy looked really good. If he didn't have those 2 drops that he had on Monday Night Football, he would have been like the talk of the Tuesday morning. He would have probably had like 8 catches and it would have been like 6 catches for like 100 and some yards. So Jerry Jeudy, really excited to get him. And I mean, if he's available, if Jeudy available, Fant's available, any of those guys are available, I would go get them. So do you think I should just put Jared Cook as my flex over Paris Campbell or Sammy Watkins? So I'm assuming, hey, thanks for the question, Seth. I'm assuming you have a pretty good tight end besides Jared Cook to think about putting him in the flex. So I really like Paris Campbell. I mean, they're going up against Minnesota. We just saw what Aaron Rodgers did against Minnesota with Adams, with MVS, with Alan Lazard. So they had a lot of really good big plays there. And I just rewatched the Indianapolis Colts Jacksonville Jaguars game, and Paris Campbell, man, they were using him in so many fun, creative ways where I think I would lean Paris Campbell, but I think The safer play is Jared Cook because we know he's got a really good rapport with Drew Brees. Michael Thomas is out, so I think I would rank. You have to make it a decision. Do you want to go with the safe Jared Cook points or potentially get a pretty big day from Paris Campbell, which I think Paris Campbell had like 10. Travis Kelce. Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, you're not moving Kelce. But I guess there's risk, a little bit of risk with Paris Campbell, but he did get 10 targets. I don't know if Jared Cook's going to get up to 10 targets, but Paris Campbell, man, and Phillip Rivers just missed him for a couple of touchdowns at the end of the day. So I think I'm leaning towards starting Paris Campbell just because it's a little bit more boom for your buck. But Jared Cook is I'm nervous about Drew Brees, I think I would say. So that'll answer your question. Thanks for the question, Seth. So Steelers side of the ball, you're starting Ben Roethlisberger as your QB1, Juju Smith-Schuster as your wide receiver 1. Deontay Johnson led the team in targets last week. He's a wide receiver 3 flex. I have Eric Ebron here with a question mark because he played well. He only had a couple catches, but they were double teaming him a lot. Defenses were focusing on him, and the Broncos have been among one of the league's worst against the tight end in a very long time. So I'm really not trusting the Broncos to be able to just wrap down Eric Ebron. So I like Ebron as a fringe starter if you're a guy with like Travis Kelce, not Travis Kelce, George Kittle. If someone doesn't play that you were banking on, Eric Ebron can slide into your lineup. And then we have this huge question at running back. It looked like James Conner practiced in full today with that ankle injury. So now all those people who added Benny Snell, now you got James Conner looking healthy again. I really don't know what to tell you guys. Like I'm nervous to recommend starting either one. Connor's always a chance to get re-injured. I think I'm gonna sit this one out this week and see how Snell and Connor both look. Maybe they both play a full game and we kind of see what this is gonna look like going forward. So I'm more comfortable, saying start your Steelers passing weapons for sure. Ben Roethlisberger, Juju, and Deontay. And then I think I'm okay with letting the rest ride and seeing how that goes. But this one's really showing up Pittsburgh here. They're up, 6-point favorites. So start your Steelers pass weapons. So then we got the Detroit Lions heading to Green Bay. It sounds like Kenny Golladay is not going to play. If we quick look at the practice report from today, we see Kenny Golladay did not practice today or yesterday. So that he would have to put in if he's going to play, I think he has to put in a limited day tomorrow. I don't really feel good about it. And with hamstring injuries, I think they're probably just going to end up waiting for him another week. So I am preparing for Kenny Golladay to not be playing in this one. So that kind of makes me like Matthew Stafford a little bit less. He's just going to be a quarterback 2 in Superflex. Marvin Jones can be a wide receiver 3. I think he's going to draw coverage against Jair Alexander quite a bit. And then you got TJ Hawkinson because no Kenny Golladay. I'm pretty comfortable in saying TJ Hawkinson can be your tight end 1 for you. And then we got some running backs here. Adrian Peterson had a really, really good game. I think he almost rushed for 100 yards, and he caught 3 balls. So the Packers defense, probably without Kenny Clark, he did not practice again today. Let's take a look at their injury report. They got a lot of guys on here. But Kenny Clark, with a groin injury, did not practice. So he would have to practice limited tomorrow in order to play. I really don't think we can expect him to be in there. So the running game might be the best friend for the Lions. So I think I'm saying start Adrian Peterson as your RB2, and then you can probably flex DeAndre Swift because he was the most heavily used in the passing game of the Lions backs. And if you're expecting Green Bay to, control this game and be in the lead, I actually like DeAndre Swift as a low-end RB2 flex play. I think he could be a nice PPR guy. And then if Kenny Galladay's out, that's going to make Danny Amendola a little bit interesting as your flex. But I'm excited to see Quintez Cephas play another game. He led the team with 10 targets last week. And then we really don't know what to do with Kerryon Johnson. If you drafted Kerryon Johnson, let's just wait and see what this one more week looks like. But we might be dropping Kerryon Johnson pretty soon. So then on the Packers side of things, Aaron Rodgers is back. You're starting him as your quarterback 1. Devontae Adams, my God, that performance was eye-opening. It looks like he is going to be head and shoulders above everyone else at the receiver position this year. He is the legit 101. Congrats if you got him at the end of the first round. And then you got some interesting weapons here. You're going to start Aaron Jones for sure. So Rodgers, Jones, and Adams are all in our lineups. But then you got Allen Lazard and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Both these guys played really well last week. And I think the Lions secondary is pretty banged up right now. I think they're down maybe 2 or 3 of their starting corners. You look here. Jeff Okudah looks like he practiced, so that's good for them. And then Darryl Roberts here, he got a limited practice in today. But Desmond Trufant, did not practice with a hamstring 2 straight days. So this cornerback group is a little bit dinged up. So I think I'm open to Allen Lazard as a wide receiver 3 flex, and then same with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. The cool part about Valdez-Scantling is it looks like they're trying to really make him a focal point of the offense. Because if teams have to worry about him going deep, that's going to leave Devontae Adams in favorable spots. That's going to leave Allen Lazard in favorable spots. And he almost scored a second touchdown. I think he got tackled at like the 4 or he got tackled at like the 1 yard line. So he could have had a monster career day. So I think you're starting, if you have him and you picked him up, I think you have to start him this week just because that secondary is banged up. And then I'm open to starting the Packers defense. They should be able to generate some sacks and maybe get some interceptions. And we expect them to win the game. So I'm fine with the Packers defense. And then we're going to monitor Jamal Williams. The tight end situation is probably not happening. And then Tyler Urban looked kind of good. He's a slash running back receiver. But if Jamal Williams is available in any of your leagues, I was a little bit impressed with him. They used him a lot. So he had, I think it was 7 carries for 21 yards. 7 for 21 yards and 4 catches on 5 targets for 21 yards, which is like 8.2 fantasy points. So if anything happens to Aaron Jones, it still looks like Jamal Williams is going to be using the passing game. So it looks like we got another question here from our guy, Seth. How much do you think Mike Evans will play good and for a good amount of time? He's been limited in practice all week. But the fact that he was able to get through all of last week pretty healthy, I feel pretty confident in him being able to be a step better this week. I'm just looking down at the snap counts real quick here. Let's go ahead and find that. So there's one way that I go look at snap counts, and I go to profootballreference.com. You just scroll down a little bit here, and you can click on the game logs. So we're going to see Tampa Bay at the Saints, and we're just going to click snap counts. So we see Mike Evans last week. I mean, this dude's playing with a not-so-good hamstring. He logged 93% of the snaps, 65 total snaps. The fact that he was able to get through this game with no setbacks or anything, I think that's a really good sign. And with Chris Godwin gone, I think they're just going to lean on him even more. So I'm pretty confident that Mike Evans is going to have a pretty good day. And it's against Carolina. Carolina is going to be one of those defenses that we pick on all season. And, if you got Mike Evans, you're not going to want to leave him on your bench. So I'll just say that. And then so we covered the Steeler game. We covered the Packer game. I talked about Jamal Williams real quick, but I think the Packers are going to be able to roll, especially at home here. Aaron Rodgers is 15-5 against the Detroit Lions in his career. So I think it's even better at home too. So then you got this is going to be a fun game to watch. The LA Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by a field goal. I think the Rams were impressive on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown, but he got enough yards. He worked well with Robert Woods, and he mixed in some of the other guys. So I view Jared Goff as a quarterback 2 in Superflex. I don't know if I would trust him as my quarterback 1, but Malcolm Brown was the story of the game. He got a lot of touches. Let me go scroll down here a little bit. So Malcolm Brown, he rushed 18 times for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he added 3 catches for 31 yards. So that's a lot of points. He saw 44 snaps, 60% of their total snaps, and then Cam Akers only had 24 snaps, which is 33%, so 1 out of every 3 plays. So it was basically a 1/3 split, where Cam Akers would get 1 play and Malcolm Brown would get 2 plays. So that's kind of how this offense is going to work. But when Akers was in, he got 14 carries, 39 yards, and he caught 1 target for 4 yards. So hold on to Akers. But for the moment right now, it looks like Malcolm Brown is going to be their workhorse this year. He's their goal line back. So I'm comfortable saying Malcolm Brown can be your RB2 this week. And then you got Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, receivers that we drafted in the 4th round, maybe even in the 3rd round. But this was a little bit eye-popping because Robert Woods stuck out. He caught 6 catches for 8 targets, 105 yards, and then he had a carry for 14 yards. So Robert Woods, man, he's like a fringe wide receiver 1. If he starts catching touchdowns, watch out. So I feel really comfortable about Robert Woods. And then you have a Cooper Kupp who only had 5 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards. So he's, Robert Woods stretches the field a little bit better than Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp was a little bit, middle of the field, short area stuff. But they were on the field. Cooper Kupp had more snaps, 62 snaps to Robert Woods' snaps. So I expect both these guys to kind of maybe trade off big weeks. So you're starting both of them as your wide receiver 2s or 3s, whatever you drafted them to be. So go ahead and do that. And then the tight end group, Tyler Higbee, only caught 3 of 4 targets last week for 40 yards. So that's a little bit disappointing, but it's 7 points in PPR league. So that's not a terrible floor for a tight end. But we did see him get the snaps, 65 total snaps, 89%. And then Gerald Everett with 23 snaps and Johnny Munt with 10. So, Tyler Higbee was on the field more than the receivers, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. So I'm feeling okay about Tyler Higbee. I think those touches are going to come his way. The Rams ran the ball with Akers and Brown. They ran it, 32 times? I don't know if they're going to be able to do that every game. So I expect a little bit of a bounce back for Tyler Higbee. Go ahead and get him in as your tight end 1 if you have to. And then we're just going to monitor. We're going to leave Cam Akers on the bench. We'll see if he can get more work as he goes forward. But Van Jefferson made a really nice play. Josh Reynolds had a play too. But these guys are just all – Jefferson, Everett, and Reynolds probably just need to be left in the free agent market and keep Cam Akers on the bench. So I like the Rams. It's a front 7 of the Eagles is pretty good. So I don't really know if we can expect an efficient running game. So I'm kind of feeling like it's a Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee game, which is why I like Jared Goff. So looking at the Eagles offense, it looks like they're getting Miles Sanders back. It looks like they're getting tackle Lane Johnson back. So this is a good sign here. But Carson Wentz is just going to be a quarterback 2 in Superflex for me. I don't think I'm going to feel comfortable starting him in 1 quarterback leagues. And then you got this weird situation going on with Zach Ertz. He wants to be paid, Travis Kelce, George Kittle money, but they got Dallas Goedert, who's in his 3rd year. I can't remember what year Ertz is in, but they're not going to pay Zach Ertz when they have Dallas Goedert ready to plug in right behind him. So there's rumors of Zach Ertz being traded. I don't know what is the truth, but you're starting both of these guys this week. Zach Ertz should be your tight end 1 that you drafted him to be. But if you have Dallas Goedert, you have to find a way to get him in your lineup. Even if you own Travis Kelce, flex Dallas Goedert if you have him. You have to find a way to get him in there because he was the best tight end on the field for them last week. 8 catches, 9 targets, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Ertz, I think he only caught 2 of his 5 targets or something. So it was a bit of a disappointing game. We're lucky Ertz scored the touchdown, but everything's going Dallas Goedert here. We don't trust the receivers, Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson quite yet. Those guys are so boom bust that I just don't feel comfortable. But Ertz and Goddard are going to be the primary target, receivers again. You're not starting Boston Scott, Corey Clement, Greg Ward. But Miles Sanders is healthy. I have him as an RB2 here. You might have drafted him as your RB1. Just go ahead and throw him out there in PPR leagues as your RB1, 2, and we'll see if he can log a full game of snaps. And I'm interested to see how the rotation works with Scott and with Corey Clement. So I would just say his first game back from his injury, just limit expectations, but let's just see what he can do. And maybe he's an RB2 plus. So this game can go either way. The Eagles are favored by a field goal. I'm pretty confident that the Rams will be able to pass on them pretty well. And then I think with the Eagles, they get Sanders, they get a healthy Lane Johnson, they got the tight ends. This could be one of the more fun games of the noon slate. So go ahead and get those guys in. And then let's see here. I don't know how many more games we got left here, but we got the Vikings at the Colts. The Vikings, I'm going to be really quick and simple with this. Kirk Cousins is just the quarterback 2 in Superflex, and you're starting Dalvin Cook and you're starting Adam Thielen, and that's about it. There's a lot of volume going to Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen this year. All these guys down here on the bench, Alexander Mattison, he did look good, but you're not going to start him unless something happens to Cook. Olabisi Johnson was the second wide receiver, but he's not getting enough volume and production for us to consider yet. And then Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith are in this weird tight end share. And then Justin Jefferson, he's the 3rd receiver on this team. So we can't trust any of these guys. Start these 3 Vikings if you have them, Kirk Cousins in the Superflex. And then on the Colts side of the ball, I think Aaron Rodgers just destroyed the Vikings secondary last week. The Vikings have a really young group of cornerbacks. They're still missing, I can't remember his name on the defensive line, but you know who I'm talking about. They got Yannick Ngakoue at least. But they're still not at full strength on defense. So I think Philip Rivers is a quarterback 2 in Superflex with Marlon Mack out of the picture. Jonathan Taylor is set up to be a fringe running back 1 this week. Green Bay had a lot of success on the ground, and it looks like they want to throw Jonathan Taylor the ball. He had, I think, maybe 4 catches on 6 targets, so that was really cool to see. And then Nyheim Hines was the probably story of week 1, how many catches he had and just all the red zone usage that he had. So he's in a PPR league, he's a running back 2, and maybe even in a standard league, he might be running back 2 because he's going to get a lot of volume with touches and yards, and he's going to probably be somewhere in the 60 to 80 yards per game range, and he's got a really good chance at a touchdown. So, and then it's just Phillip Rivers, man. Phillip Rivers is always thrown to the running backs. So this is no different with Nyheim Hines. So let's see here. We got a question. I have Saquon and Carson as my RB1 and 2, but for my flex, should I put Mostert in or Hines? Is this a PPR league, half PPR? What is your scoring format to this? It's PPR. Okay. So Saquon going up against the Bears, you're going to leave him in there. Chris Carson against who do they play? That makes me nervous a little bit against the Patriots. I think I would probably, I've seen, the thing is I really like Raheem Mostert against the Jets. The Jets have nothing on offense. And the receivers for the 49ers are banged up. So I think you're going to see Raheem Mostert get a lot of touches, maybe up to 16 to 20 carries. So I feel pretty good about Saquon, and I feel second best about Mostert. And then I'm assuming you only have one flex spot, if that makes sense. So to me, the decision, it comes down to Nyheim Hines or Chris Carson. And Nyheim Hines might be, I guess it's kind of a level of risk you need to play with yourself. I think Nyheim Hines is going to be the safer play, especially in a PPR league. I don't really know if the Vikings are going to be able to, stop those little quick screens and quick shots to him. And then, with Marlon Mack out of the picture, they used him a lot last week. So I think to me, it's between Hines and Carson. I think I would move Mostert up to the RB2 spot. But again, it's that Patriots defense that makes me a little bit nervous on Sunday night. They just absolutely hammered the Dolphins running game. What was it? Jordan Howard had 8 carries for 7 yards or something like that. So I think if that helps, I think that would be my decision. And I would probably lean Nyheim Hines just because I know he's going to get the ball. He's going to be useful in the passing game. And I know Carson actually got a lot of catches too. But they used Carlos Hyde quite a bit as well. So it's kind of a tricky situation, but I think I lean getting Hines into the lineup if you can. So back onto the Colts. I just watched this Colts-Jacksonville Jaguars game last night. T.Y. Hilton looked great. He had a couple plays where there was pass interference that he drew. He had one drop, so he could have had a much bigger day, but I feel really good about him against this Vikings secondary being a wide receiver too. Paris Campbell, they used him in a lot of cool, creative ways. I think he's a wide receiver 3 flex for us in PPR leagues, and I think he led the team with 10 targets. I have to double-check that. Jack Doyle's just a low-end tight end 1. I really don't know if I trust it that much, but I would say Rivers, Taylor, Hines, Hilton, Campbell, find a way to get them in your lineups if you can. I'm probably not I'm not really interested in these defenses. And then we'll continue to monitor Michael Pittman Jr. Mo Alley-Cox will be the next tight end up if anything happens to Jack Doyle. And then Zach Pascal he was actually the 3rd most used receiver in terms of snaps for them. So if anything happens to Hilton or Campbell, I think Pascal would get the first bump up. So this game could go either way. I like the running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, and we'll see if Adam Thielen can make more plays than T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell, and then start Nyheim Hines. So moving on here to the Giants and the Bears. The Bears are 5.5-point favorites. I think you can start Daniel Jones as your quarterback 2 in Superflex. We're not benching Saquon Barkley any week. He was still able to get 10 or 12 fantasy points in a PPR league last week, despite only rushing for 6 yards. So you're starting Saquon Barkley, no problem. Darius Slayton stole the show on Monday Night Football. He was their number 1 receiver. He went over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he led them in targets as well. And it looks like Daniel Jones has basically decided that that's my guy. That's the number 1 receiver that I'm going to stretch the field with. And then Sterling Shepard had a really efficient day. I think he caught all 6 of his targets for 47 yards. So he could be, a high floor wide receiver 3 in PPR. And then Evan Ingram, I have him on the bench because, man, he looks so disappointing on Monday Night Football. I think he only caught 2 of his 7 targets for 8 yards, and he had a couple just really stupid plays. He had a pass interference play that was bad. He could have had a touchdown, but he just him and Daniel Jones just weren't on the same page, and he kind of just missed it. So I think I'm benching Evan Ingram until I see something from him. And then Golden Tate, we're not sure if Golden Tate's going to play. It looked like he logged a limited practice here. So let's see. He's got the hamstring injury, limited. So I think he's probably on the trend of playing this week. So we'll see if he can go. If he does play, I might like him as a flex, but maybe we wait a week and see how this works. The Bears still have a good defense too. And then one note here, if anything happens to Evan Ingram, I think you guys need to know Caden Smith would be the guy that I would go pick up right away, and he might even be worth holding on to right now because we know Evan Ingram's kind of injury prone, but if he's injury prone and he's not playing good right now, it might be worth holding on to Caden Smith if you have him in a super deep league. But the Giants offense, man, they did not run the ball well last week, but the passing offense has me optimistic about what they can do here in Chicago. And then Mitchell Trubisky here on the Bears side. He's just a low-end quarterback too in Superflex. We're not going to start him or anything in standard leagues. David Montgomery looked better. I was nervous about him with the groin injury coming in, but he looked pretty good. Probably better than I remember him last year. So I think Montgomery's a running back 2 for us. Allen Robinson's a wide receiver 1. Anthony Miller had a really good touchdown catch to kind of win the game at the end. So I think he's going to be a wide receiver 3 for us, maybe a flex play. And then Jimmy Graham, if you really need help at tight end, Jimmy Graham, he had 7 targets. I think he only caught 2 or 3 of those balls, but one of them was a touchdown. And then I think he got called down at the 1 yard line. So he almost had 2 touchdowns. So it seems like Trubisky really likes Jimmy Graham. And then Tariq Cohen, he didn't have a very good game, but he's got a decent floor. I think he still scored 6 points in PPR leagues. So if you have him in a PPR league, he could be your RB2 if you're really needing that, or he could just be flex in general. But I think I'm gonna wait to get Tariq Cohen in the lineup. And then you could start the Bears defense. I think Daniel Jones is still pretty turnover prone, and something can happen there. But then just keep an eye on this name, wide receiver Darnell Mooney. If the Bears do decide to get rid of Allen Robinson next year or trade him at some point this year, Darnell Mooney looked good, and he could be the guy that steps into Allen Robinson's playtime there. So monitor that. And then we got, is this the last one here? No, we got 2 more games to talk about here. 49ers, Jets. We're going to make this one quick. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's just a quarterback 2 in Superflex, a low-end one. Start Raheem Mostert this week. He's going to get a lot of touches, a lot of potential goal lines. This is the one game that you don't have to watch this week on TV. If it happens to get to the Red Zone channel, cool, we'll watch it there. But then George Kittle, he's not practicing this week. Kyle Shanahan has said that Kittle does not need to practice to play, but you're 7.5-point favorites on the road against a team that you're going to win against. I don't really know if it's smart to play George Kittle this week. So we'll have to check back in on the Sunday morning practice report and see if Kittle's in. If Kittle plays, I'll play him. But I think for now I'm planning on them not using him. And then they're still not healthy at wide receiver. So Jerick McKinnon, he had 5 targets last weekend. He caught 3 of them, had a touchdown. He also gets carries. McKinnon, if he's available in your league still, I think he might be worth an ad in PPR leagues. Go ahead and start the 49ers defense. And then we kind of just got to monitor Tevin Coleman, Kendrick Bourne, Jordan Reed, if George Kittle is out, becomes interesting. Dante Pettis. And then I probably should have listed Brandon Ayuk here. It looks like Ayuk is practicing and will play, making his rookie debut this week. So I'm excited about that. But man, this stay away from this game if you can. If you have Raheem Mostert, just get Mostert in the lineup. On the Jets side of the ball, Le'Veon Bell's on 3-week IR. We're not starting Sam Darnold. Jamison Crowder's got a hamstring injury. I don't think he's going to play now. So who are they going to use? Josh Adams. Maybe you can end him to your bench. Brashad Perriman. He's going to be their leading receiver this week, I think. But you're looking at Josh Adams and Frank Gore to run the ball against this 49ers defense. I just don't want to use any New York Jets this week. The only guy that I would consider is if I punted at tight end in my draft and you got Chris Herndon, Jamison Crowder is going to be out. There's going to be no competition in town for him in targets. So maybe Chris Herndon's the one guy in PPR leagues that will make a splash. So that's all I need to spend on the Jets and the 49ers. And it looks like here we got one more game here, and I will sign off here before the Thursday night kickoff. I want to say thank you for hanging out and asking questions. I got a few people in here that have hit me up, and I'm going to be doing this, I think, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night. Subscribe to the Fantasy Fellowship. Hit me up on Twitter. Ask questions, whatever you need. And check out thefantasyfellowship.com. And we're going to finish this podcast with the 1-0 Jacksonville Jaguars at the 1-0 Tennessee Titans. The Titans are favored by 10.5 points. So let's just get rid of the obvious guys here. You're starting Derrick Henry, no problem. Ryan Tannehill, I have him listed as a quarterback 1. I'm going to downgrade that to a quarterback 2 on the chart because A.J. Brown is probably not going to play. He's got a knee bruise. So A.J. Brown has not practiced today. I think he had a limited day yesterday, but they're saying he's got a knee bruise. This could be 1 to 2, maybe even more week injury where he's out. So I think we need to prepare for this Sunday. A.J. Brown's going to be out. Corey Davis also was limited at practice with a hamstring injury. So I really don't know if we can trust Ryan Tannehill, nothing more than a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. But if Corey Davis can play, I like him as a wide receiver 3, see if he's available on your waiver wire. But as of right now, I mean, it's all Derrick Henry, of course, but the signs are kind of pointing to Jonnu Smith. If you were fortunate enough to get Jonnu as your tight end 2, I think he's got, especially with A.J. Brown out, I think he's got tight end 1 value. So I love the Jonnu Smith spot here against the Jaguars. And, I mean, just because A.J. Brown's out, we're going to see Adam Humphries probably get a lot more looks in the passing game, some more snaps there too. So I think he could be a 10 to 12 point PPR floor guy if you really need someone. If you have Kenny Galladay and someone's out. So Bob Crowley, thank you for the question. Let's see what we got here. Do you trust? I'm assuming that's Devontae Parker or Landry more PPR. We really don't even know if Devontae Parker is going to play yet. He's logged a couple limited practices, but he's also going to be going up one of the very good cornerback in Buffalo over there. I keep forgetting his name, but I really don't know if I trust the Miami Dolphins. It looks like Jarvis Landry is expected to play, and because it's PPR league, I mean, Landry caught 5 of 6 targets last week for 51 yards. I think that could be a similar situation again. And when you consider that they played the Ravens last weekend and now they play the Bengals, I just think that you might have a little bit brighter day for Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield in the passing game there. So I think I'm okay with saying Jarvis Landry tonight. Maybe he gets 6 catches, 75 yards, and good chance at a touchdown. He was, Baker's favorite target in the red zone last year, and he's already been cleared to play. So I think I would fire up Jarvis Landry. Thank you for the question. And I forgot where I was on this Titans game, but we talked about you're starting Derrick Henry. We'll probably start Corey Davis if he plays. Jonathan Smith is a tight end 1. I think I like Adam Humphries as like a 10 to 12 point floor guy in PPR. And then Ryan Tannehill, I'm going to move him to my quarterback 2. And then on the Jaguars side of things, Gardner Minshew, man, he was 19 of 20 last weekend. He was just flinging passes around, making some really smart plays. So I think he's a very viable super flex quarterback, which is what I was drafting for him, or I was drafting him that all summer. So it was good to see him throw 3 touchdowns and just get DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault. Keelan Cole got involved. But as far as, must starts from this game, it's just Minshew and Superflex, and then I would say DJ Chark as your wide receiver 3 with some upside. But it was really cool to see them use James Robinson. James Robinson kind of stole the show here. So if we look at the numbers, where are my James Robinson numbers? Yeah, up here. So James Robinson, he had, where did they go? So he rushed for over, I think it was like 66 yards. But he was the clear guy in the backfield. He had 34 snaps, about 68% of the total snaps. So 34 snaps compared to the next best running back, Chris Thompson, who had 12 snaps. So that was a lot more than Chris Thompson. So it looks like they're going to want to use James Robinson as kind of their bell cow back that they've been accustomed with Leonard Fournette. So I think I'm totally okay with James Robinson being a low-end RB2 flex play for us. Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay combined for over 100 yards last week, and they both, one of them, I think Melvin had the touchdown. So we could see James Robinson, get upwards to 15 to 20 touches in this one. And then you got Laviska Shenault, who looked pretty good in his couple catches, and he scored the touchdown. But I think I'm going to move Laviska to the bench. And same with Keelan Cole. I want to kind of wait and see another data point on these guys before I trust them. But Laviska, Keelan Cole, both these guys look really good. They could be flexed going forward, so make sure they're not available in your leagues. And then we're not starting Tyler Eifert. We're not starting Chris Thompson. So I think that covers that one pretty well. The Titans should be able to win this game, but maybe Minshew Mania is at it again. So just start Minshew, Chark, consider James Robinson, and then, Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis. We'll see how that goes. So it's Thursday evening. I'm going to upload this and hit save and try to get this all processed before the game starts tonight. I think I'm going to be going live tomorrow night to discuss the Sunday afternoon games. I have 3 games to talk about, and then Sunday night football and Monday night football. So that's tomorrow night. I'll probably go live at like 6 or 7 o'clock. Talking 5 more games to finish the week 2 slate. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions in the chat room. That was kind of cool. That was probably the most people I had ask questions in one of my podcasts. So it's really cool to see. Don't forget to like, leave a comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff you have to do. And enjoy the Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield show tonight. And hit me up with questions on Twitter, theFellowKGB. We'll see you in another video. Peace.